There comes a moment in everyone's life that doesn't look dramatic from the outside. No loud argument, no sudden tragedy, no collapse in front of others. It's quiet, almost invisible. You're sitting alone, maybe in your room, maybe in your car, maybe staring at your phone, and something inside you just stops trying. You don't cry right away. You don't panic. You just feel empty, heavy, tired in a way sleep can't fix. And you don't even know how to explain it, because nothing bad enough seems to have happened. But inside, something has cracked. This breaks everyone inside. Have you ever noticed how strong people are always the ones who break in silence? They're the ones who keep going when they're exhausted. The ones who say, "I'm fine," so convincingly that even they start to believe it. They carry responsibilities, expectations, unfinished dreams, and unspoken pain, all stacked on top of each other, day after day. And nobody sees it, because they never complain. They never stop. They never ask for help. Until one day their mind whispers a dangerous sentence, "I don't think I can do this anymore." And that sentence doesn't come from weakness. It comes from being strong for too long. You see, breaking doesn't always come from failure. Sometimes it comes from trying too hard for too long, without being understood, from giving your best and still feeling like it's never enough, from watching others move ahead while you're stuck in the same place, wondering what's wrong with you. You replay your efforts in your head, the late nights, the sacrifices, the times you didn't quit, and yet, here you are, still tired, still behind, still questioning yourself. That's when the inner voice changes. It stops saying, "Try again." It starts asking, "What's the point?" And that question is dangerous, because once it enters your mind, everything feels heavier. Waking up feels harder. Motivation feels fake. Even things you used to love feel distant, like memories from another life. You start moving through your days on autopilot, working, studying, talking, laughing, while inside you feel disconnected from yourself, like you're watching your life instead of living it. People think breaking looks like falling apart, but most of the time it looks like functioning while empty. You still show up, you still do what's required, but your soul feels tired of carrying hope. And what hurts the most is that you don't feel allowed to be broken. You tell yourself others have it worse. You tell yourself to be grateful. You tell yourself to stop being dramatic. So instead of listening to your pain, you bury it deeper. You distract yourself, you scroll, you work more, you stay busy. Anything to avoid that quiet moment where your thoughts catch up with you. But pain doesn't disappear when you ignore it. It waits, and it grows. There's a moment late at night when the world goes quiet and you're finally alone with your thoughts. That's when it hits hardest. The regrets, the fear that you're wasting your life, the fear that you're not enough, the fear that no matter how hard you try, nothing will change. You start questioning your choices, your worth, your future. You wonder if this is all life is going to be, and you ask yourself questions you never say out loud. Why am I like this? Why do I feel so lost? Why does everyone else seem to know what they're doing? Why am I still here, stuck, trying, failing, repeating? That internal conversation, that's the breaking point. And here's the truth. No one tells you. Everyone reaches it. Every strong person, every dreamer, every hard worker, every soul who cared deeply about something. This isn't the moment you gave up. This is the moment your old way of surviving stopped working. And that hurts, because it forces you to face something uncomfortable that you can't keep living on pressure alone. That motivation built on fear, comparison, and expectations will eventually collapse. That pushing yourself without listening to yourself always comes with a cost. Right now, if you're listening to this and thinking, "This feels like me," I want you to know something important. You are not broken beyond repair. You are not weak. You are not failing at life. You are exhausted from fighting battles nobody ever acknowledged. And in the next part, we're going to talk about where this pain really comes from, why it hits the people with the biggest hearts the hardest, and what this breaking point is actually trying to teach you before it destroys you or transforms you. Because this moment, this silent breaking, is not the end of your story. It's the part where the truth finally demands to be heard. There's a reason this pain feels so confusing. It's because it didn't arrive all at once. It came slowly, quietly, piece by piece. It built itself in the background of your life while you were busy surviving, while you were doing what you were supposed to do, while you were being responsible, while you were being strong. That's why one day you wake up and think, "Why do I feel like this?" You look around and nothing seems wrong enough to justify the heaviness in your chest. Your life might look normal, maybe even good, but inside you feel disconnected, unmotivated, restless, and tired of pretending you're okay. This is what happens when you carry emotional weight without ever putting it down. You see, nobody teaches us how to process disappointment. Nobody teaches us how to grieve the life we thought we'd have, the version of ourselves we imagined becoming, the timing we believed in, the recognition we hoped for. Instead, we're told to keep going, be patient, trust the process. So we do. We swallow our frustration. We silence our doubts. We push our pain down and call it discipline. But discipline without emotional release turns into pressure. And pressure always looks for a way out. Sometimes it escapes as anger, sometimes as numbness, sometimes as self-doubt so loud it drowns out everything else, and sometimes it escapes as that quiet thought you're afraid to admit, I don't recognize myself anymore. That thought hurts more than failure, because failure feels temporary, but losing yourself feels permanent. You start noticing little changes. You don't get excited about things that used to light you up. You procrastinate, not because you're lazy, but because starting feels emotionally exhausting. You overthink simple decisions. You replay conversations in your head. You question whether you're doing enough, being enough, moving fast enough, and comparison makes it worse. You watch others hit milestones while you feel stuck. You see people celebrating wins while you're just trying to make it through the day. And even when you're happy for them, a quiet voice inside asks, why not me? That question eats at you, because you know how hard you've tried. You know how much you've sacrificed. You know how many times you didn't quit. And yet, here you are, still waiting for clarity, waiting for momentum, waiting for proof that this struggle means something. This is the moment many people turn against themselves. They stop saying life is hard and start saying something is wrong with me. They call themselves weak, slow, behind, a disappointment. They start believing the lie that if they were smarter, stronger, more disciplined, they wouldn't feel this way. So they push harder, work longer, rest less, smile more, pretend better, but that only deepens the crack. Because the truth is, this pain isn't a sign that you're failing. It's a sign that you've been ignoring your inner voice for too long. Your mind and body are trying to tell you something important. They're saying, this pace isn't sustainable. They're saying, this version of strength is hurting you. They're saying, you can't keep living only for expectations. But instead of listening, most people fight the message. They drown it in noise. They chase motivation videos. They look for quick fixes. They blame themselves for not feeling inspired. And when inspiration doesn't come, they feel even more broken. Here's something nobody tells you. Motivation disappears when your soul is exhausted. You don't need more pressure. You don't need harsher discipline. You don't need to wake up earlier or push harder right now. You need honesty. Honesty about what hurt you. Honesty about what you're afraid of. Honesty about what you're carrying that was never yours to hold alone. Because this breaking point, this emptiness, this quiet frustration, it's not trying to destroy you. It's trying to stop you from destroying yourself. And in the next part, we're going to talk about the shift that changes everything the moment you stop fighting this pain and start understanding it. The moment you realize that being broken is not the opposite of being strong. It's often the beginning of becoming real. If you've made it this far, don't leave yet. There's a quiet moment that comes after the breaking. It doesn't feel powerful at first. It doesn't feel inspiring. It feels still, almost empty. Like the noise in your head finally ran out of energy. And in that stillness, you start to realize something that changes everything. You weren't breaking because you were weak. You were breaking because you were becoming honest. For the first time, you stopped lying to yourself about being okay. And that honesty is terrifying, because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. You see where you've been forcing yourself, where you've been shrinking your needs to survive, where you've been chasing approval instead of alignment, where you've been trying to prove your worth instead of living it. That's why this stage feels uncomfortable, because growth doesn't start with motivation. It starts with acceptance. Acceptance that you're tired. Acceptance that some dreams changed. Acceptance that you can't go back to who you were, and you shouldn't want to. Most people resist this moment. They rush past it. They try to rebuild themselves using the same habits that broke them, but the ones who truly transform do something different. They pause. They listen. They ask themselves questions they've been avoiding. What am I actually afraid of? What am I running from? What part of my life feels heavy because it's no longer true to me? These questions don't have easy answers, but they have honest ones. And honesty is what heals, not positivity, not hype, not pretending. You see, pain has a purpose when you stop fighting it. Pain shows you where you've abandoned yourself. Pain shows you what matters. Pain shows you what can no longer be ignored. That's why people who rebuild after breaking don't just become stronger. They become clearer. They stop living on autopilot. They stop chasing everything. They stop needing validation from everyone. They choose fewer things but choose them deeply. And slowly, something shifts. You start waking up with a different feeling. Not excitement, not confidence, but presence. You're no longer asking, how do I become more? You're asking, what do I need to let go of? And letting go is harder than pushing forward. Letting go of guilt for not being where you thought you'd be. Letting go of timelines that weren't yours. Letting go of the belief that rest means weakness. Letting go of the idea that your worth depends on productivity. This is where real strength begins. Not the loud kind, not the aggressive kind, but the quiet kind that rebuilds you from the inside out. You begin to move differently. You stop rushing. You stop comparing. You stop explaining yourself to people who were never meant to understand your path. You take smaller steps, but they're finally in the right direction. And one day, you notice something surprising. The heaviness is lighter, not gone, but lighter, because you're no longer carrying it alone. You're no longer pretending it doesn't exist. You're no longer punishing yourself for being human. You've learned something powerful. Breaking didn't end you. It introduced you to yourself. And if you're listening to this right now, still breathing, still trying, still searching, that means your story is unfinished. That means there is more ahead of you than behind you. That means this pain did not come to ruin you. It came to redirect you. So take a breath. You don't have to figure out your whole life today. You don't have to feel motivated right now. You don't have to be okay yet. You just have to be honest. And from that honesty, everything changes. If this spoke to you, if you felt seen in these words, don't ignore that feeling. Sit with it. Reflect on it. Share this with someone who's silently carrying the same weight. And if you're ready, stay connected, because this is where healing turns into purpose, and purpose turns into a life that finally feels like yours. This breaks everyone inside, but not everyone listens to what the breaking is trying to say. You did.